We've both had some experience with this. Vicki, I know you have. How do you improve a child's concentration? We'll get into that. We've got a number of ideas for you. First, maybe a disclaimer. Concentration can be affected by a lot of different factors.
And it's kind of hard to figure out just what's affecting your own child.
It really can be. And we're going to share some ideas with you. Be open to any of these ideas, but also be open to some other solutions. Sometimes you need to get a little extra help. I've felt as a psychologist, working primarily with children and families, that we tend to overdiagnose conditions like ADHD, for example. Sometimes when a child is having a hard time concentrating, it's really easy to jump to the diagnosis. Well, it may or may not be a true diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So let's just put that on a shelf for a little while we talk about different ways to improve a child's concentration, and then we'll remain open to the possibility maybe there's something else going on there.
Right.
So before we leave that topic, Vicki, I know you've encountered this as you worked with people in the schools as well. Have you seen some resistance sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes parents just are really against putting their kids on any medication, and I understand the caution in that. However, if you've tried to manipulate the environment and you've implemented a lot of other strategies and haven't seen the progress you were hoping to see, it is a very viable option to consider medication. It's kind of like the difference between, if I need glasses, it doesn't matter how much harder I squint. If I need the glasses, I need the glasses. I'm not going to see better just because I'm squinting harder. And so there are times when medication is the answer. I think it's great to really explore as many options and natural options as you can. And some of those factors are sleep, diet, and exercise.
Right, just taking care of the body.
Right.
And we've seen through research and just practical experience with kids that sometimes what they're eating can have a big impact on their behavior. Too much sugar, high in carbs, those kinds of things tend to give an energy rush to the body without providing really sustaining nutritional value. And so if your kid's eating a lot of high sugar, high carbohydrate kind of things, you might see a little less ability to concentrate, and that's something that could be addressed through the diet. But also, like you said, making the exercise, making sure that you get enough sleep. This is what we refer to as brain maintenance.
Right.
And quite frankly, Vicki, when you were talking about the medication earlier, the medication of choice for a true attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is stimulant medication. That doesn't make sense to a lot of parents. They're like, put my hyperactive kid on stimulants? What the heck? But really, there's a lot of reasons why that is the case. And we found that if it's not properly treated, it can lead to further risk factors in the future, especially as they get into their adolescence and teenage years. We find a higher incidence of drug use, for example.
Yeah, it's kind of a self-medication because they know they're not concentrating, and they can concentrate better when they're stimulated. So then if we're not providing them the right medications, they'll often self-medicate.
Right. Now, usually when people find this kind of a video, they're looking for, okay, how do I help my kid with concentration in some particular context? For example, doing homework, or fulfilling assignments, or paying attention to a task. And it's very contextual. So there's a lot of environmental factors that contribute to that. Vicki, I know you've worked with some parents who didn't even realize that maybe I should turn off the TV.
When your child is doing homework, you want to set them up for success.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to reduce as much of the noise around them. And I'm talking busyness noise as well. So maybe a quieter place. I have seen a lot of children have a lot of success using sound canceling headphones.
Yes.
That's very helpful. So turn off the music.
There's also visual noise, Vicki.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, is there a lot of things going on visually? Having the TV off is a really strategic move for you, because even if it's muted or even if it's low in volume, there's this visual noise. We go out to the restaurant sometimes. Do you remember the one that we went to last week? And there were TVs literally every 3 feet on the wall. There was another TV, and there were sports going on and infomercials and just all this visual distraction, even though there wasn't any noise.
Right.
If you're putting your child in front of a big picture window, for example, and there's kids out there playing in the cul-de-sac, and there's birds flying by and squirrels running past. Squirrels. Just be aware of that. It might be better to position the child's study area in a place that doesn't have that kind of visual distraction. Right. Maybe something that's a little more muted would help them with their concentration. This is very practical.
Now, we said to reduce sound distraction, but sometimes classical music playing softly in the background can actually help them concentrate. So do consider Baroque period music. The research has shown it to be very helpful for concentration and completing a task.
This actually ties into brain studies that have been done. It stimulates different brain waves, and different kinds of music have different effects.
Right.
You mentioned Baroque, also some of the classical or romantic period music, the stuff kids wouldn't normally choose to listen to, and it's stuff that does not have words attached to it as well. It's just the music, and so you can experiment with that a little bit as well. We also want to create a contextual environment that is brain friendly.
Okay.
Have you noticed, Vicki, when you're doing a task and trying to concentrate for a long period of time, it gets harder as you go on?
Right.
So give time for breaks.
And you know your child. You might need to be more frequent with your breaks for one child than you do the next child.
And during the break, we want to be doing things that stimulate brain activity. Taking a complete break from the material that they're concentrating on and getting physically active will help them to concentrate more when they come back to the task. So keep that in mind as well. Breaks with physical activity.
A really great strategy for timing the breaks is to use some sort of visual schedule, and that helps the children a lot of the times know how long they're going to be concentrating, when the break is coming up, what are the next steps I have to do. It just helps to give them chunks. So you're taking the task in chunks, and that helps kids concentrate during the chunk.
Vicki, when you say a visual cue, what are you referring to there?
Like maybe there'll be a picture, or you might write it up on a board, say from 2 to 2:15 you're going to be working on math homework, that sort of a thing. Then we're going to have a break, we're going to have a snack.
And it could be an actual physical timer then too.
Right. Yeah.
That shows how much time is remaining in the break or whatever.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of kids respond really well to timers.
Yes.
Especially the ones that count down. They like those.
You know, anytime we get into this discussion about how do I help my kid to concentrate more, that's always based on the parents' motivation to have them concentrate. I think it's helpful to go down to their level. So just put yourself in the kid's head for a minute. Why should they concentrate? Yeah, you've got 10 reasons as a parent why this would be important, but they might not have a single good reason to do it. So we have to help provide those reasons for them. We've got other videos here about consequences and the use of effective and positive consequences. All that does really is give them a good reason to concentrate, and you may need to do some behavioral planning with some effective consequences that allows you to assist them in their concentration.
If you enjoyed this video, look at the next video coming up, which is how to get kids to focus better.
And we're here to support you in your positive parenting. The very first step to that is to get a copy of this book. Being positive is at the core of positive parenting. And we'll start you off by giving you a free copy of this book. You pick up the shipping, we'll send it out to you, and then let's have some conversations after that about other ways that we can support you. drpauljenkins.com, spelled with a DR. There's a link in the description. Click on the big orange button once you get there, and we'll send you a free copy of this book.
Eyes will never let it go.